Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 50 of Retry. Today we're looking back at one of the greatest baseball games of all time, Baseball Stars, released in 1989 by S&K for the original Nintendo. How popular is Baseball Stars? Well, it spawned a series that got 5 sequels, but the truth of the matter is, none of them were as good as the original game. Beating my ass today for this demo is going to be VideoGameSaga.com's moderator, Pizza Ninja. One of the first things that you're going to notice is that there's no Major League Baseball teams. Base Babes is being played by Pizza Ninja, and I'm going to be the Denver Demons. Long before EA and custom players and custom teams came around, Baseball Stars had its own made-up league where you could create teams down to each individual player. You could even trade players between the teams. There were so many options here that were ahead of its time. Actually, it's kind of funny, since you could create a team, and each team you created could randomly get one good player, using both the first and second player controllers, you could actually force through trades of the best player, then delete the team you created and make a new one, hoping to get another really good player, and create a stacked team. My buddy Pizza Ninja sat down and showed me how it's done, and it looks a little like this. Hell yeah, this is cheating, but who cares? Me and my buddies, and probably a lot of people out there watching this video right now, used to sit and do the exact same thing. Flying through the menus as quick as they can, picking all the best players, just so they could get one to run the gauntlet of Baseball Stars computer teams. But let me explain the main point why this is even possible. Baseball Stars is a sports RPG. Winning games against challenging opponents earns money for your team. You can use that money to upgrade your players. Stamina, speed, hitting power, you get to decide what stats get better. If that's not enough, different players had different potentials, so only certain superstar players could truly get maxed out. On top of creating, stacking, and improving your team, Baseball Stars was the first sports game to have a create a player mode. That's a staple in every single sports game now, but it all started here. I mentioned before that you could trade players between teams. There was even a free agent market where if you had a specific need and didn't want to continue improving maybe a lackluster player, you could actually fire that player and get a new free agent. To support all this great customization, the cartridge actually had a memory chip that would save your data. The memory chip would also save cumulative statistics that you had built up over playing the course of a season. It's pretty impressive for just a regular old 8-bit game. It's actually pretty amazing. The game would keep track not only of win-loss records, but of individual players' ERA and batting averages over the entire season. If that's not enough, the game also kept track of the league leaders, the top 10 batting averages, pitchers with the most wins and lowest ERA. I mean, that's all amazing for what essentially is just an original Nintendo game, and it has features that are offered consistently on every modern sports game made now. Baseball Stars begins with 8 teams, and you can create 6 additional teams. Like I mentioned before, even though Baseball Stars didn't have an official license to have official baseball players in it, they still had an all-star team that kind of gave due to some of the greatest baseball players of all time. The American Dreams team had Pete for Pete Rose, Hank for Hank Aaron, Babe for Babe Ruth. All their statistics were set so that they'd play realistically to how they did in real life. And let me tell you, when you could beat the American Dreams by the mercy rule, you knew you had mastered this game. Ah, the mercy rule. This game has a 10-run mercy rule, so if you ever complete both the top and bottom of the inning and you're beating your opponent by 10 runs, the umpire just throws in the towel. Definitely a great feature to add to a game where you're trying to earn money for your team as fast as possible. So if you're just kicking the hell out of your opponent, it ends the game, you can move on to the next one, earning even more cash for your team. Now check this out. That's right, you can jump up in the air to catch pop-ups, you can even climb the wall to rob people of home runs, and you can dive to field the ball. But the gameplay improvements over other NES baseball games didn't even stop there. Your off-screen outfielders would gradually move towards where the ball was going to land to give you a better chance at fielding. That tiny piece of autocorrecting made Baseball Stars so much more forgiving than some of the other popular baseball games on the NES, like RBI Baseball. Yeah, I don't think climbing the wall is going to help with that one. Baseball Stars had a standard versus mode where players could play against each other in an exhibition game as you see here. but the game actually takes multiplayer even further than that. You can create a league of up to 6 teams, with each team playing up to 25 games against every other team. You can then pick which teams are played by the computer and which teams you and your buddy are going to play, and play through the entire season multiplayer. In case there's any confusion whatsoever, I'm the one getting my ass kicked in the gameplay footage here. Did I mention Baseball Stars also has secret codes? Yeah, this game pretty much has everything. Pizza Ninja, the guy I'm playing, used this code on screen here to make his badass team of all women, and it's nothing to shake a stick at, they're just as good as the men. Are you crying? I'd be crying too if I was wearing a hat like that. You got a hair helmet, girl. Woman, I asked you a question. I'm from the Da Vinci Code. I'm from Bosom Buddies. You better step up.
Why don't you leave her alone, Jimmy?
Oh, the star from Exit to Eden wants to take a shot?
Because there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in baseball! No crying!
If I can just get serious for a moment, I gotta talk about a problem that has plagued every person that has ever played retro baseball games with their friends. That's right, boys and girls, we need to talk about hoe pitching. What is hoe pitching exactly? Well, it's when you take advantage of ball movement after you throw it, which makes the batter think you're throwing a strike when you're actually not giving him anything over the strike zone. Pictured here is actual footage of hoe pitching from 1988's RBI Baseball for the original NES. Ooh, absolutely zero chance. You may call it by a different name, but I assure you, the atrocity that is hoe pitching has been a problem of NES games for almost 25 years now. If you're going to play this game, please, for your own safety, discuss hoe pitching before the game begins. This is the kind of thing that if you break out in the middle of the game and it hasn't been discussed, well, I can't be held responsible if your friend decides to beat the crap out of you. Son of a man! Well, I guess I deserve that. Let me tell you, Baseball Stars is the Tecmo Super Bowl of NES baseball games. One of the only criticisms I have with Baseball Stars is that it didn't have the Major League Baseball player's license. Rather than just having made-up players, it would have been cool if Baseball Stars included that license and had the real baseball players in the game as well. Before I forget, I have one more criticism real quick of Baseball Stars. The music can get extremely repetitive. This is one case where RBI Baseball had it right. When you play the game, there's no sounds except the gameplay. With Baseball Stars, with the same song playing over and over for 9 straight innings, it gets extremely repetitive. In 1990, Baseball Stars Professional, the first sequel to Baseball Stars, came out, but it had none of the customization. You only had the set teams and you had to play as them. There was the 1991 sequel called Baseball Stars 2, which again had no graphical improvements and basically was the exact same game but with less features. I'll tell you, it really is a shame. It's almost as if SNK knew they had this massively successful game and were just trying to make as many knockoffs as they could to cash in on the franchise. I tell you, it's not often you see a series that has as many games as Baseball Stars does, yet the original is still the best. You can grab this great game off of eBay for about $5 to $10. Do I recommend it? I'm doing a retry on it, of course I recommend it. It is hands down the best original NES baseball game of all time. I know there's plenty of people that might want to try to argue with me, but the truth of the matter is, no company made a better baseball game that had more features and was still as fun as Baseball Stars. Thanks for watching. For VideoGameSaga.com, this is Tony B, and I'm out. Retry? You know it.